Championships. Yes, certainly will be a trying day for the triathletes this afternoon on the Wellington waterfront. Welcome back to 3 Sport as the action continues on our Super Sport Sunday. For the next hour, it's highlights of today's World Championships on the harbour capital. And as you can see today, we've got an expert commentary team with Stephen Stewart, and also joining us, our 89 world champion, Erin Baker. And Erin, it's great to have the World Championships right here on our own doorstep. Must be a good hometown advantage for our Kiwi competitors, the likes of Hamish Carter, Jenny Rose and Sarah Harrow.
It certainly is. You know, being here in New Zealand just gives them that extra zoomph, and here we are with a little bit cooler and windier day than normal, and I think that's only going to favour the whole 200 Kiwi contingent here.
Well, what about the conditions today? I mean, just a slight zephyr, around about a Mark 15, I suppose. Overcast for the Olympic distance course.
Yeah, it's certainly stronger conditions than we'd normally have. You know, we race around the world in the hot climate, so this is cooler and windier, but it's for a tough race. It's going to make for a much tougher race, and certainly the Kiwis are going to shine more than they might in a much lesser, you know, conditions. Okay, let's take a look at the course now for the World Triathlon Championships. It starts off with a 1,500-metre swim, which is a deep water start, a boxed U-shaped swim, and then that's followed by, of course, the cycle section, 40 kilometres up north along the motorway, up over Brooklyn Hill, back through the city, and then it finishes off with a 10-kilometre run along Oriental Parade, 4 times and back, a run home to the finish. And earlier today, we had a expatriate New Zealander who teamed up in the junior men's, and that's Ben Bright. His dad's a Kiwi, his mum's an Aussie. He was in the age group competition in the Commonwealth Games, but here he is winning the junior men's championships with the Australians today with a time of 1:53.50, and a great performance by the Aussies in the juniors, taking the double as Claire Carney took out the women's event with a time just under 2 minutes and 10. So those were the junior champions. Let's find out how the top contenders in the elite competition also feel about today's Race of Dreams.
It's just I've got to get my brain into gear now, but you know, I'm in good shape, and looking at my training log, everything's better than what it has been for the years, but it's just, you know, I've just got to get out there and want to be hungry.
There are always some other athletes who you haven't heard of before which show up and are very strong, so I think there are 5, 6, 7 people who might really win the medal.
The idea is obviously to get a good swim and be up near the leaders in the swim, stay in touch in the bike ride, and to take the race and the run.
I did Ironman only, I think it was about 6 weeks ago, and it's kind of new to me, so I don't really know how my body reacts after a long race like that.
If you have a bad swim, you're not going to be in the race. If you have a bad bike, you're going to be history. And the same on the run. You've got to be consistent.
Last time I came out here and I couldn't swim in the harbour, it was too choppy for me. I got on the bike and I was pretty flat because it was towards the end of our season.
It's always very difficult to have set race plans because so many different things happen, but all I want to do is just go from the gun and go as hard as I can.
Maybe I won't be out with the front girls in the swim, perhaps a little way behind, so I've got a bit of work to do in the bike.
I don't mind the cold as well. I sort of adapt pretty easy. You know, the places we travel, we're sort of all over the world, and different climates, different places, and you know, it doesn't seem to affect me too much.
People are so friendly here. This is why I feel like to come back again, because people are so nice, so cheerful. Even if you don't feel good, with such a crowd, you feel good.
My wife's a New Zealander, so I spend half the year down in New Zealand, so it's kind of, even though I'm racing for Canada, it's a bit of a backyard race for me.
Thanks, Clint. Wetsuits certainly required today. 16 degrees water temperature, perhaps even chillier than that. And really testing conditions. That's quite a strong wind here in Baker they're heading out into.
Yeah, it is a strong wind. It also looks like it's a strong current. We've got people all over the place here already, and I'm sure that what you're going to see is a slow swim out, and they're going into the current and a tide, and then a much faster swim back. You know, already you've got the strong swimmers taking over here.
And there was a whisper before the race that look out for one of the Frenchmen in the swim.
Yeah, there's a Benjamin Sanderson. He's one of the 2 brothers French champions. They're 400 and 1500 metre French champions, Olympic swimmers, and we're not sure if this is the top 10 in the world Olympic swimmer or the other one.
Sanderson out by 15 metres at this stage. Now it's a triangular swim, heading out 560 metres, that first leg. And conditions, they are choppy.
Yeah, they're choppy and they're hard. I listened to the competitors earlier. They said that they're not feeling the cold. Ben Bright, just a thin white New Zealander we're taking him as, and he said he didn't feel the cold at all. And I think that the adrenaline is pumping. They're all in long-sleeve wetsuits. They're not feeling the cold, but certainly they're feeling the conditions of the water. And we do have a huge pack here. As I said, not so good for the top elites. Brad won't be happy about this. He's pulling far too many guys behind like hopefully Scott Molina and a few others are really happy to be in this pack and not have Brad already 10 metres up. And I know at this stage, Brad and Miles and a few of the others are thinking, you know, we're not dropping the pack. We are not dropping a ton of people here, and that's going to be a problem because you're going to have an enormous bunch going out into the bike, and that's the last thing any triathlete wants is a bunch on the bike. You know, a 5-second lead out of the transition area can very quickly become 10, and that's what he knows right now. He's knowing right now that the last 200 metres, he can do something, and that's what he's trying to do.
That's Brad Bevan from North Queensland. He used to train, they say, with crocodiles. They call him the Croc.
Yeah, he does train with crocs. My husband went training with him up in Queensland. He's tough as they come, and he does train with crocs. I mean, unbelievable, really.
There's the gap. Benjamin Sanson, I'd say a conservative 50 metres, so he's increased it without really sprinting away after he made that initial break.
Right, now he's going to get on his bike 30 seconds ahead of the other guys. It is a long way. He's not going to hold it for the whole course, but he is going to hold it on the flat section on the motorway.
Coming up 17 minutes, and our first man ashore, it's the Frenchman, Benjamin Sanson, stroking the last few metres. Here he comes out of Wellington Harbour.
Yeah, fantastic swim, you know, 16:40 in conditions like this, and this is definitely 1,500-metre swim. Shows his class, truly excellent international firstness.
And can bike a bit.
He can bike a bit, got a good set of legs on him, running is his weakness, so we'll look out later in the race.
And has the trademark triathlon long hair.
Oh, yes, it's part of the course nowadays.
The field, it's Brad Bevan, second out of the water, but he didn't increase that lead.
No, he didn't, and he really does have the field on him. So there we've got Brad. Looks like Spencer's there, Miles, Hamish is right there.
Good start for Hamish Carter.
Very good start for Hamish Carter.
That was the key leg for him, staying in touch on that swim.
Yeah, he'll be thrilled.
That's Spencer Smith. He won in Manchester last year. He says these conditions are very similar. They won't worry him.
No, they won't worry him. And he's coming into form, not such a great year, but he's getting better. And he'll be absolutely wrapped with the swim, and he'll be as psyched as he can be.
The Frenchman's already underway. Benjamin Sanson. That lead, though, could have been cut back. Pretty quick transition by Smith.
Yeah, the other guys are great in the transition area. I mean,
Brad Bevan leading the chase.
In the transition area. They've already cut his lead to about 15 seconds. Here's Rick just about to run out from the transition area now. There's Miles coming through now. He won't be so happy. He's a little bit off already.
With one of the Australians.
Miles, Brad's out. Hamish is right there.
So the top runners after the swim leg for the man led by the Frenchman Sanson, and the big dangers there. Watch out for Spencer Smith, the defending world champion from Great Britain, in third. Right behind him, Brad Bevan, the Australian, the man who leads the World Cup Series at this stage, and the first of the Kiwis running out the top 10 in the leading contenders, as you can see there, Rick Wells in position 9. That's the swim leg for the men's in the World Championships.
I feel really confident about my swim right now, and I hope I can transfer it into the race.
I'm used to battling with the elements. The wind and cold really doesn't bother me. If anything, it'll probably help me compared to the other women.
I hope I come good over the swim track because the water is very cold and I'm not a good swimmer.
Underway in the women's elite section, a field of about 70 women in Wellington Harbour, and here in Baker, conditions, they haven't improved. Still pretty rough out there.
They haven't improved. You're going to see a similar sort of races to the men's. I don't think we have a great swimmer like Sampson, but we have a very strong swimmer in Rena Bradshaw. She will want to lead the swim.
That's the Australian coach by your husband, Scott Molina.
Yes, she is, and she did well at the Ironman, but she's had a long year.
Also a long year for Jenny Rose, the Christchurch triathlete. She's won the last 3 races in the World Series. Victory today would not only give her the world crown, but confirm the World Series.
Yeah, it would, and she's the most focused athlete in this field that I've seen this morning. The others are like chatting around, talking, mulling about the condition. Jenny is just 100% focused, and, you know, I can see this being her day.
500 metres of the women's swim leg behind them, and it's the German, the surprise leader, Sabine Westhoff, has a good 10 to 15 metres over the field.
Yeah, a good, really good lead. A huge swim for her. She hasn't really extended that lead over the last 100 metres or so, but that's because Rena Bradshaw is chasing her and putting some competitors with her. Rena's a very strong swimmer, so I don't know that Sabine's going to get away much more than she is.
Now, you're surprised to see her in front because you outswam her earlier this year.
Yeah, and you know, I don't consider my swimming my strong point, but they say she's a great swimmer, and she's proving that today.
A bunch of about 6 women chasing with Rena Bradshaw, the Australian, who's been in winning form this season, at the front of it. Well, they've hauled in and Sabine Westhoff in the women's swim leg. Rena Bradshaw and a couple of others right behind.
Yeah, Rena's done the work. She's very distinctive, sort of sloppy stroke, but a brilliant swimmer, and she's closed the gap. So what we're going to have now, we're going to have a bunch bike ride again. So hopefully Jenny's in that bunch because she can certainly outbike most of these girls.
Rena's done a couple of others a favour too. She's pulled them through as well. Sabine Westhoff not been helped out at all by the Australian.
No, that's exactly right. Rena has pulled a bunch up to Sabine, and that's unfortunate for Sabine.
There we have the lead changing as we see it there. Yep, stroke for stroke. But it's the Australian Rena Bradshaw who you thought would lead initially.
Yeah, I did. It was amazing she didn't get away at the start, but she does get out fast.
Here come the women's swim field out of the water and doing it hard as well.
Yeah, it's been a hard swim and they're cold. Now all they're thinking about is getting to the transition area and getting their wetsuits off. We saw Isabel Mouton get out of the water early. Here's Sarah Harrow. She'll be happy
And
with
Anne
that swim.
Keith, I think, alongside her as well. Another one of the New Zealand runners. But Sarah Harrow right there. There's our race leader. Dominique Donna from South Africa.
Yeah,
now that's a surprise.
That's a big surprise. They haven't heard of her and they haven't raced her, so they're going to hope that she's not so good later on. There's Gail Lawrence, a very strong biker. They're going to hope that she's not so good later on.
Plenty of action in transition, and the South African looking to get away first, but she's been hauled in already.
Jackie Gallagher's on her bike fast, the Australian there, and she's not a great biker, but a very good runner.
That's Anne Keith from Wellington, knows these conditions oh so well. Gail Lawrence from the US. Problems for Lawrence.
Gail Lawrence is, I think, currently either second or third in the World Cup standing. Sarah Harrow's right there, and I really expected her to be. Isabel Mouton's in the transition area now. She is the world long-distance champion from Nice. She would have wanted to be up a little bit closer because she's not a great rider. Here's Karen Smythe in the transition area now.
She's well done.
A dreadful swim, not good for her day at all.
Already casualties from the women's race.
This is a big problem. This is Sonia Krolik. She was one of the favoured women.
You said she'd have trouble in that swim. She's so light.
She's so small. She's such a thin and no fat on her at all. She's obviously had huge problems and she's out, and that's a huge loss for the women's field. She was expected to come through on the run. A wonderful athlete.
So the top contenders after the women's swim, led by the South African, and also the big dangers there. Westhoff, the German, Bradshaw from Australia. Great effort by the Kiwis in the top 10. Keith in position 5. Also in there too we have Dalton in position 6. And Carney, one of the Australians to watch out for too. Perhaps could be a good day for the Carneys after Claire won the junior championships earlier today. Next up, it's the cycle leg. 40 kilometres. Heading north along the motorway for the first turnaround along the Naranga Gorge, back along through the tunnel, up over Brooklyn Hill, as you can see, rising to a height of 140 metres.
I'm kind of happy that the Brooklyn Hill doesn't come till sort of probably, 20 minutes into the ride.
I think it's a strongman's course. It's not necessarily a climber's course, although there is one climb in it, obviously. But I don't find that's a problem to me.
I'd like to be up the front in the bike, obviously, save a little bit of energy for the run. It's a very, very fast run.
Brad's had a bit of a problem winning the World Championships in the past. He hasn't been able to clinch the title yet, and I'm sure he's very keen to do it here.
Back to the men's bike ride, and we've got a lead change about to go. We've got our Frenchman Benjamin Sanson, but he's been swallowed up.
Yeah, here's Spencer Smith. I mean, this guy is an animal on the bike. He is so good.
On the New Zealand bike, he's had a lot of gear changes this year. Now he's settled on one.
He's been through 16 bikes this year. He's had all sorts of problems, and here he is. He's leading the race. This is where he wants to be. This guy is big, but he can run. You'd be surprised how fast he can run. 25
minutes into the race, the first lead change. He won it last year in Manchester. He's a former junior world champion. He's done it all already, and he's only 21.
Exactly. He's 21. He has so much more.
The men's bunch on the cycle, they're doing it hard. Happy Valley, it's not too happy for some of them out there today, though. That looks hard work.
Yeah, it is hard work. So Spencer Smith here is pushing an enormous gear. His cadence is so slow. Amazing that he's pushing such a big one, but he's so strong he can afford to do that.
He's put that burner in. He's already sneaking a look over his shoulder to see whether anyone's pulling him in.
Yeah, he really is pushing a big gear, and he's looking over his shoulder just a little bit too much. He really should just knuckle down. No, he's in the lead.
The bunch chasing our tearaway leader, Spencer Smith. A group of 4 of them, and that's Brad Bevan moving into second. The Australian, the World Series winner this year. He's moved to second, but spotting the leader, a big start.
Yeah, well, this is what we expected to see at the front of the race, and this is the chase bunch, so it's surprising. But Brad's still, still an excellent runner, and he doesn't let things get away on him, and he knows what Spencer's doing, so I'm only thinking that he knows he's going to totally outrun him, but hard to see at this stage.
Heading up back towards Athletic Park, one of Wellington's real milestones. It's Spencer Smith Still looking strong.
He's still looking strong, and it's the only other hill on the course. He's going to use it.
We've got quite a bunch there, a bunch of 5 of them. Bevan in second. That's Andrew McMartin, I think, the Canadian.
Yeah, Andrew McMartin is second in the World Cup standings.
Spencer Smith, he's left the Wellington tunnel behind him. Darkness behind him. He's out in his own. It's just a matter of whether he's built up a big enough lead if he's done it tough.
Well, he's built up such a big lead, and he is. I mean, you can't say he's not a great runner, because he is.
There's the bunch chasing Smith. Brad Bevan now, the Australian, has slipped them. He's out by 15 metres. Maybe this is the break.
Well, I just feel that this bunch is too big. You shouldn't have a bunch this big as an elite chasing bunch, and I think it's actually slowing the race down, because there's so many of them, they're going ho-hum. Yeah, this is a person that deserves to win this race, without a doubt. Whether he does, we don't know at this stage, but to go out, hammer it, I mean, that's what you have to do to win international races and world championship. You don't think and play games. You just go, and you go as hard as you can all day. I always won my races like this, and most people who win races do it. Unfortunately today, some other people have been playing cat and mouse, and it just doesn't work.
Well, he's overdue a big win now. Here come the chasers. Andrew McMartin having a look behind him. He hasn't got away yet, has he?
Yeah, no, but he has got them out of draft distance, and that's what he's worried about. There's no one that's on his wheel being able to get in his draft zone, and I think that's what he's concerned about at this stage.
How heavily will they be policing drafting out there today?
Well, it looks like they're policing it very heavily, because they're not drafting off each other, and they've obviously been well told and well warned.
Spencer Smith, he's on the motorway, and he's going at motorway pace.
Yeah, he's flying now. I mean, you can tell that his speed compared to the other people are going up. He's coming down. He's going much faster. And, you know, he's going to work on increasing his lead, certainly holding as much as he had, but sort of deflating for the others when he's flying along at 40 miles an hour, and they're crawling up there at 24 miles an hour. So they're obviously struggling into a headwind here. You can sort of tell it by their positions, and they look like they're all slowed down a bit from the initial leg. So into a headwind, then they'll be coming back with a tailwind, which is always nice.
You can hear the applause starting already for Spencer Smith. Probably in that strip, they might think he's a Kiwi in the black.
Well, you know, I think they're going to take him as a Kiwi anyway. I think we always have an affinity for our, you know, Commonwealth cousins in a way. And, you know, the fact he's a Brit, he's a good Brit, he's a really nice guy, this guy.
Looking smooth, too. He's into the start-finish area now, just getting ready for that transition. Everything under control.
Right, and it was interesting. I saw the British team in Auckland, and they were wearing black and white. It really surprised me. Maybe they did want the hometown advantage, so to speak.
They might have been worried about the sun. The effects of the sun. Not here, though, no. Off the bike, he's looking great. Spencer Smith. We're 1 hour 17 into the race. That's a quick bike ride.
It's a very quick bike ride, and you know, look at the way he's already running. He's only been off his bike 10 seconds, and he's flying. You know that.
He's a big guy, though, isn't he? Can they pull him in that run?
No, he can run. He can run, this guy.
Here's our second man into transition. It is the Czech still, Thomas Kokar, who broke away halfway through that bike leg. One of these Europeans who keeps a pretty low profile.
He keeps a low profile, and his run will be a little bit unknown, but at this stage, Spencer Smith already has a minute 25.30 on him.
Oh, here's our bunch. One of the Mexicans. There's another surprise. That was Ricardo Gonzalez.
Yeah,
and a bunch.
Oh, huge
Big bunch.
Big bunch, yeah.
Gonzalez, the Mexican, had a good result in his home turf, I think 3 weeks back. The Czech offers biking away, but he's got a lot of company.
Yes, a magnificent performance by Smith, the defending champion from Great Britain. Absolutely blew them away on the bike leg and opened up a huge lead, well over a minute on the chasing bunch. Bevan in there, still the big danger from Australia, the World Cup leader. And the tragedy is that the two New Zealanders you haven't seen any pictures of so far today, Rick Wells and Hamish Carter, both suffered punctures on the bike leg. And basically that was it for the two top Kiwis.
I've never been within cooey of the lead actually in the World Champs, so hopefully this year I'll be at least up with the leaders going into the run.
At least get off the bike, at least not first, but with a leading group at least. And I don't really want anybody to pass me on the bike.
A lot of the people that are going to be ahead on the bike, their weakness is the run.
The women heading out on Wellington motorway early in the cycle leg, and a challenge already for the lead. Rena Bradshaw, the Australian, of course, first out of the water. But here comes the German Sabine Westhoff.
Yeah, Sabine's a much stronger bike rider, and you would expect you to overtake Rena, but basically the race is going according to plan. The two fastest swimmers are out there on the front. Sabine will want to take over and put a good bike leg in and take control of the race. She's a really strong bike rider, but not a very good runner, as opposed to Rena behind her, who's a great runner, but not a very strong bike rider.
Sabine Westhoff, the German, just a 5-metre lead on the early stages of the bike ride, Wellington motorway. She a strong rider?
She's a strong rider, but if you look behind her, you've not only got Rena, but now you've got the other, the other woman coming up behind. These two swimmers haven't put a real dent in the field like they should have. I mean, the strong swimmers, and yet, the best part of their race may be gone.
The swim repeating itself. She made that early break in the swim only to be hauled in.
Right, but, she looks for a really good bike rider. Her two strengths, she has to win this race on the swim and then the bike, but with the field creeping up behind her, it's not looking good for her early on.
Another change, and it's Emma Carney. Now, she's not supposed to be there in the race that early.
It's unbelievable. I mean, Emma Carney was 4.5 minutes behind Sarah Harrow out of the water 2 weeks ago. Here she is now making a challenge to lead the race already. This is just a dream for her. She can't believe she's even here.
That's Emma Carney, one of the young Australians, second in the national champs here back in February. Gosh, she's learned quickly since then.
Yeah, she really, and this is just incredible. She obviously had to come out of the swim within 30 seconds of these lead women, and for her to do that, a person who's not a swimmer to turn their swimming around in 6 months like she has is nothing short of miraculous.
And in that bunch of 5, Sarah Harrow, I think, in 5th place, just at the back.
Yeah, well, we expected Sarah to be there because she is one of the stronger Finnish swimmers, but Emma, amazing.
Drama, Westhoff is gone. She's gone on the turnaround. Carney did well to escape her.
She did great bike skills to escape her. Sabine's down, and she's going to have to rally herself and get back, on pretty quickly.
So Emma Carney, the Australian, she's got the gap. She's clear. This could help Sarah Harrow's chances now with Westhoff.
Well, it's just tight of those 3 or 4 up back there, but the fact that Emma's here, I mean, I don't know what's running through her little mind at the moment, because this wasn't even in her best ever scenario how this race would go, that she would lead this early.
So a real turn up, Emma Carney, out by a good 30 metres, early stages of the women's bike. Here's a challenge now for Emma Carney. It's Sarah Harrow. She has taken the advantage of the crash. She's made the big move.
Yeah, well, we expected Sarah to do great. She's been so quiet all week. She's really kept a low profile, and she's such a strong bike rider. Again, a swimmer and a bike are not so strong on the run, but she's young, and she's talented, and she's so damn determined, old Sarah.
And knows she has to get past Carney to have any chance of beating her.
Yeah, she has to beat, Emma, be well off in front of Emma on the bike. She raced Emma only 2 weeks ago, and she was well in front of Emma at this stage. She had 2 minutes on Emma at the end of the bike, so a little bit of a, change in positions here over the last week or so.
She's nailed her. Harrow's taken the lead. Get another change in the women's race. The toughest part of the cycle course now, Brooklyn Hill, the first real hill and a challenge.
Yeah, and this is when they would have been hoping to put a mark on the field, but now there's only the 2 of them, so it's sort of like, it's our race already, what are we going to do? But
different styles.
Totally different styles. Sarah, I would have thought would have been the better hill climber. She's on the hill every day, but I think
Christchurch, sure.
Absolutely shows the work that Emma Carney has done over the winter. I raced her last summer, and she just didn't have this hill climbing ability, and yet now, here she goes. She's climbing brilliantly and actually dropping Sarah.
So another change in the lead. Emma Carney, the young Australian, back in front.
No one else to be seen behind them, so they're on the last couple of miles on the motorway. They've just dumped the whole field.
Well, Emma Carney's finally shaken off Sarah Harrow. She's first into transition after the bike ride. That's a real surprise.
This is becoming just a dream race for her. I just cannot see anybody else now winning this race because she is such a fast runner. The only thing that will stop her now is she has an injury or she's got a problem going into the run, but she's a superb athlete and a very, very fast runner. She did Commonwealth Games trials for Australia earlier this year.
Running the race of her life, Emma Carney. Here comes the first Kiwi, and it's Sarah Harrow. She's having a great day after chopping and changing for the lead. She's in 2nd place.
Yeah, she's had a sensational bike ride, great swimmer, great bike. She knows now that Emma's better than her on the run, but, at this stage in the race, being 2nd at the World Championship, she is so psyched, and she's only got not great runners behind her, so she's going to keep one of these top places if she just gets out there and runs, a 36-minute 10K, and I think she's capable of that.
So drama in the women's bike ride as the German Westhoff crashed out of contention, but that was good luck for the Australian Carney, who's grabbed the lead, and even better luck for the New Zealander Sarah Harrow moving up into 2nd spot, and also for Jenny Rose there, the World Cup leader, and she wants to finish in front of that German to take out the series today. She's right on target after the bike in position 5 in the top 10. The run leg of the World Triathlon Championships features 10 kilometres from the wharf out and back 4 times along Oriental Parade, 3 turnarounds and the chance to turn a year's hard work into a World Championship.
Spencer Smith out on the run, still out on his own. How's he looking?
Yeah, he doesn't look like he's flying, but then he never does.
Doesn't need to, does he?
No, he doesn't need to fly, and you know, he's looking a little bit maybe hard on it. You know, but he does. He's not on the toes type runner because he's too heavy to be on the toes.
He's a big guy. Brad Bevan on the move. The Australian on the run has moved through to second.
Yeah, he's a class runner, Brad, and then he would have been hoping that this was the position he was in at first, and he didn't have a guy out the road, but he can outrun most of these guys, and he would have been hoping to outrun Spencer too. He probably will have a faster run split than Spencer, but it's obviously not going to be enough, I don't think.
And we've got 3rd, 4th and 5th coming through as well. Miles Bennett, one of the Australians, number 74. That's a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, it is a surprise, and the other people won't be happy about, the other Aussies won't be happy about that, but Ralph Eggert is one to watch. He, Scott said to me this morning, watch for him, he's going to be in the top 5. He's well in control, he's not throwing his head back too much, his arms are getting higher, but, you know...
If anything, he looks better than when we saw him going out on the run.
Well, he does look better. I think he's one of these competitors that warms into the run, because he's so big, he's got to get all those muscles sort of tuned into the run, and he has.
Good crowd turnout, good support here this morning.
Oh, great support. You know, what didn't start out as a very warm day, it's wonderful to see people come out and get behind this. You know, Olympic sport now, though, I think that makes a difference, you know. And, so, you know, Spencer here, 21 years of age, you know, 2000 is certainly not too far away for him to
He'd only be 27. Young.
He'll just about be the age I am now.
Yep, you've got it. That's Spencer Smith, our runaway leader in the men's race. In fact, it's his race. He's totally dominated it since the bike ride. Good swim from him, and since then, goodbye.
Yeah, I think because the swim was choppier and the Brads didn't get away, it made the difference. Now, if you'd seen Brad get away on the swim, then come through the bike, he would have been in front. He wouldn't have let that lead slip.
Here's Brad Bevan, the crossover. There's the gap.
You know, Brad's made up some ground here.
A lot of ground.
Obviously put a lot of ground on number 3, 4 and 5. So a great race. And this is what we'd expect of Brad, you know. He can run great, he bikes great, and I don't know what happened to him that he didn't have a better bike earlier on.
Brad Bevan, he's already won the World Cup Series, regardless of the outcome of this race, but yet to win a World Championship.
Yeah, and he's going to be really disappointed. He deserves a World Championship, and it's yet to come.
What a race within a race, though, isn't there, back there?
There is a race within a race, but it's always interesting. If the top contenders aren't at the top, they'll often either give it away or pull out, because they're not here just to finish another triathlon. They're here to win, and once that blows out of their minds and they're not in the top 3 or 4, they're out.
Here's our race leader, soon to be our race winner for the 2nd year in a row, Spencer Smith, putting Oriental Terrace and downtown Oriental Bay behind him. It was a bit overcast earlier on in the day, but it's come good. Big crowd out along the waterfront, as per every Sunday, I suppose, in the capital, and they've really been rewarded for turning out.
Yeah, and I think the conditions are pretty good for triathlon. Certainly have been great for Spencer here today, but it's not been too cold. I mean, cold in the water, but they're psyched for the race, and once they're out on their bikes, they really don't notice it.
This will come as a bit of a surprise. Oh, is that Dad, is it?
That's Dad there. He's the greatest guy you've ever seen, and he'll be just thrilled. I mean, these guys, they work as a team. His dad gives Spencer everything. You know, they live together in the States. They bought a house in San Diego.
Payback time today, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
There's our chaser, Brad Bevan, the Australian, looking strong, but that gap.
Yeah, well, you know, he had a minute with 2.5k to go on this race on Brad, and there's just no way, you know, that works out. That he can't catch him. It's 20 seconds per kilometre, and he just wasn't going to do it. 25 seconds per kilometre.
Where's the support? He's oh no, the teammates.
Yeah, no,
Come
he's
on, get
celebrating
behind
already.
me.
You know, it's nice to see. He deserves to be able to have a long, slow victory here towards the end, because so often you can't enjoy it till you cross the line and then you've gone past all the spectators.
Good to see support from some of the other nations here too. 43 countries, over 1,300 people here this week. The triathlon capital of the world.
It sort of looks like the Commonwealth Games in Auckland, doesn't it? You know, it's people along a good course that they can see everyone in the run, and it sort of gives you the same sort of feelings as that Commonwealth Games event did back then.
Where you and Rick Wells, of course, won for New Zealand. Brad Bevan 2nd on that occasion as well. 2nd again, 4 years down the track.
Interesting that, you know...
Here we go, looking for that big rev up now.
Oh, he is. But, you know, we've had this sort of finish...
Oh, here it comes. Has to come. Here's the flag.
Well, you know, he deserves to have
well,
the flag.
You set the scene, 90, Auckland, you and Rick, of course, and here it comes again, the English flag, though, this time. The crowd's finally twigged, I think, that he's not a New Zealander. The flag's the giveaway. Number 1, all right.
great finish for Brad, still second, but, you know...
Here he comes, Brad Bevan had already wrapped up the World Cup Series before this event. But here's our man in victory lane.
He's just so deserved this a victory. A great race for him.
On goes the sponsor's cap. Yes, here he goes. Spencer Smith. 1 hour 50. 1 hour 50.
You know, it's interesting to compare his time to Ben Bright's earlier in the day. You know, not a huge gap there, but he's still far, far ahead of everyone else in the race.
I think he's acknowledging the support he received out there today. Yep. Outclassed them. Spencer Smith just too good. Retains his world crown. And in second place, the World Series winner, having to be runner-up today, Brad Bevan.
Yeah, he has to be a little disappointed with this, but he has had an outstanding year. He has consistently won every big event this year, so he'll take that in stride.
Big race on for third. This is the closest one we've seen all day. One of the Canadians, Mark Bates, and the German Ralph Egger. Nothing in it.
Both supreme athletes, but both, you know, sort of underestimated in this event, but they've always been up there in the placings around the world.
Brad Bevan in our road, he finally gets out of it, and it's Eggert home third, just ahead of Bates. There's our women's race leader, Emma Carney, and of course, Erin Baker, you've raced against her. Surprised that she's made such a one-horse race of it today?
Yeah, I am. You know, I only raced her once, and she was a great competitor, but she certainly wasn't what I would call in the elite of the elite field. But, you know, 6 months can be a wonder, and it certainly proved to be a wonder here.
There's the crossover, Emma Carney out on her own, still heading out Sarah Harrow, and the challenger for second place, Annette Pedersen, the Danish woman.
And Emma's only now more confident than she was before. She knows she's, you know, so far ahead now. She's taken her time on her watch. She's clocked it herself. She knows she's like minute 50 ahead. And she's just going to... This is just only going to make her go faster and faster. She's only going to be more and more motivated from the stage.
Jenny Rose, well, she's obviously not going to win the world crown today, but she's going to wrap up the World Series. This place, she's fourth at the moment, will be good enough.
Yeah, well, here you have Jenny, and right behind her Sabine.
Well, the race is on then.
Yeah, and then behind her still we have Isabel Mouton, who's the world long-distance champion. So Jenny's still holding her own. I can't see any of the
doing it hard, though, isn't she? It's fourth place, Jenny Rose, a winner on this course back in February when she beat Emma Carney.
She's done good to keep her wits about her, because, you know, it's disappointing for her to have Sarah ahead of her, you know, because Sarah's such a close friend and yet such a great rival. So to keep her head together and still be in for the race is just wonderful. It shows her how gutsy she's become.
And here's the surprise in the women's race. In third, it's Annette Pedersen.
Amazing, you know, we don't know of her at all, and here she's in third place, and I believe another Danish woman who, again, we don't know, is just behind her still.
Emma Carney picking up some of the guys who are feeling the heat out there today. Bit of a move coming now for second and third. Sarah Harrow, that gap is closing. The Dane, Annette Pedersen, just halving that gap a little, about 12 metres back, and I think here comes the move.
Well, I think Sarah would be bright to let this woman lead her into the headwinds. They've got another headwind section, because I don't really see their running abilities as being much different. So if Sarah lets her go ahead, she's nice and tall, and so Sarah, the little one, can pop in behind and then hopefully have a better tailwind section home.
Well, the Dane's right on her shoulder now, Annette Pedersen. She might be thinking smart as well. Maybe I'll just tuck in behind Harrow. No, she's taking it.
Yeah, but, you know, when you pass someone, that's when you go hardest. She's going to try and, you know, break Sarah right now, say, you know, I was just jogging along, now I've got you and you're gone. But, you know, Sarah should be smart enough to realise that you always pass someone harder than you do anything else.
Well, she's one Australian who's backed up her confidence here today. There's a crossover, Annette Pedersen and Sarah Harrow going through, so that is a big gap.
They've got the full length of that straight. Now, that straight's about, you know, 200 metres long, so it's a long way. They've got a 3-minute lead already, and she's going to increase it. Here's
Jenny Rose, World Series leader, going into this race. And, of course, the pressure off her a wee bit with Sabine Westhoff, her major challenger, crashing on the bike. But Jenny's doing it tough out there.
Yeah, she is doing it tough. You know, she's working really hard, and she does work really hard. She just so deserves this World Cup Series, because she kept her whole mind focused on it the whole year. She knows that she's good at the sprints, and she only does the sprints. You know, I feel a little bit sad for her today that she's got Sarah in front of her, because she's more of the elite of the two, although obviously that may be reversing at this stage. But she's so gutsy. She would never give in. There's John.
Coach John Hellemans, yeah. Great day for him, though.
Yeah, great day for him. And he'll just have that, you know, it's fabulous, Jenny. He's nothing but positive at this stage. I mean, he's making her feel great about herself, and she should feel great about herself.
She's got the World Cup in the bag, and that's worth good money.
It's worth good money, yeah.
And here's Sarah Harrow holding on to third spot.
Yeah, look at her. She's working her tail off, so to speak, in this race. She's a really great kid. She's so dedicated to triathlon at such a young age. You know, it's amazing.
Victory lane now for Emma Carney, the Australian, and just over 2 hours. Not a bad effort.
A great race. And 2 hours is pretty good for this course.
Emma Carney down to the finish. It's hers. 2:03.20. Sarah Harrow is going to be the best finisher of the New Zealand elite men or women today.
Yeah, her low profile all week spoke of something. I think she didn't want to let anybody get to her. She was focused, and yet she was in great shape. So we knew there was something that, you know, she was hiding away, and she's proven it today.
Here she is in victory lane, Annette Pedersen from Denmark. The 28-year-old from Denmark, great result for her. About 2 minutes behind our race winner, second place. And here's the first Kiwi, Sarah Harrow from Christchurch. Great support for the Kiwi.
And she'll be absolutely thrilled with that finish. She wouldn't have, you know, dreamed in best dreams that she was going to be in the top 3 in the world in November in New Zealand 1994.
Top result from the New Zealander, bronze medal in the World Championships. World Series leader Jenny Rosen 7th. She's done well. She knows she's won the World Cup. She's wrapped up that series with that 7th place finish. She looks great. She looks happy.
Yeah, and she's that type of person. She just always beams, you know. Before the race, she's sort of a little bit like me, a little stark, but she's always so gracious, and she'll have nothing but great things to say about Sarah. She's a wonderful competitor, and I think she has a huge future. Next year she'll be great here in Europe. Good for her.
2 Kiwis in the top 10. Jenny Rose 7th. That clinches the World Series title for her. And also her best finish in a World Championship.
Yes, wonderful stuff today on the Wellington waterfront with Jenny Rose taking the World Cup Series and Sarah Harrow 3rd. And, of course, Erin Baker, the 89 world champion. Great stuff. The Kiwi women doing it again for us.
Yeah, and the Christchurch women too. You know, these women train so hard. You know,
typical
they really
contemporary of
yeah, well, yeah, you have it. They train hard. They work really hard the whole year. I think they know how to train hard. And, you know, a lot of people don't, but these two are just positive, great athletes, and it's great for New Zealand.
Yeah, it must be great for the sport too. I mean, you've basically said, you know, goodbye and cruising back now, but we've got some great talent of the future.
Yeah, we have, and I think that it says great things for Sarah. She has to look towards Sydney in 2000. And for Jenny, you know, an outstanding year. She didn't win this event, but she did win the World Cup, and she's had just outstanding performances the whole year through. She's won 3 World Cup events, and I think it's just wonderful.
Okay, we'll take a short break. We'll be back to talk to those champions right after this as we wrap up the 1994 World Triathlon Championships from the Wellington waterfront. Congratulations, double world champion. Must be very, very satisfied with that win today.
It was, you know, it was a very, very tough race. The wind was blowing a gale out there on the motorway, and you know, on your own it's very difficult. But I managed to get away, and it was a fantastic result for me.
Pre-race tactics to blow them away on the bike. I mean, a 1 minute 30 lead. How good was that?
That was good. You know, I felt very strong. You know, I must have put some of that bike lead. Obviously, I had a lot of problems this year. I haven't gone quite to plan, but it's ended up okay. Alan Speed Frames, who are actually made in New Zealand, actually. So perhaps, you know, the New Zealanders have got something to show for some of their bikes.
Always a pleasure to help out the Pommies.
Oh, that's very nice of you, and I appreciate that as well.
Okay, well, you may have been second today in the World Championship, but it also means that you've taken out the World Cup Series for the 3rd year in a row, which basically means on a consistency basis you are the world's best triathlete.
Well, that's my major goal for this year, was to take out the World Cup. I think it's a great honour to you know, try and win a series rather than a one-off race. Although you can't take it away from today, it's also a very prestigious race. But I've been racing. I've done about 30 races this year, and you know, my season's over now. I have a couple of weeks off, put my feet up, enjoy it, and just relax a little bit.
Emma, congratulations on winning the elite part of the Women's World Championships. And a special day for the Carney sisters with young Claire winning the juniors as well, so you've done the double.
Yeah, when I saw Claire finish, I thought, oh God, it's up to me now.
So what's the secret of success for the Carney sisters?
I must have done good cooking.
And what about the race today? Tell us about how it went for you.
Well, I thought I was having a bad swim, but when I got out the Australian events, once I saw the leaders, I thought I would come in contact with some of so far. Great.
And before the race, Erin Baker was saying that you look like one of the most focused of the New Zealand athletes, and obviously you were pretty determined to do well today.
Yep, definitely was. Done all the hard work, trained damn hard. So.
Well, enjoy the moment of success with the bronze medal. Well done for flying that flag for the Kiwis. Great to have the hometown crowd.
Oh yeah, just the crowd was absolutely fantastic. Just like to thank everyone for coming out.
Well, 7th overall today in the World Championships, but more importantly for New Zealand's Jenny Rose, you have taken out the World Cup Series for 1994. Congratulations, Jenny. You must be absolutely stoked.
Thanks, Clint. Yeah, I'm absolutely wrapped. You know, it's not the best race I've ever had, but, you know, consolation and grabbing the World Cup Series.
And the prize there, of course, is consistency and performance right throughout the year. That's a tough way to do it, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, all the other races, you know, first, second, or third, but today pulled the whole thing off. You know, a bit of a shame I just couldn't pull first, second, or third out there, but no, I'm pretty happy and I tried really hard.
So confirming the champions for 1994 at the World Triathlon Championship, Spencer Smith from Great Britain took out the men's event for the 2nd year in a row. Brad Bevan from Australia wins the World Cup for the 3rd year in a row. Ralph Eggert, the German, wins the sprint to take the bronze medal for the men's. And look at that, Scott Molina, Erin's hubby, rounding out the top 10, coming home in 9th spot. The best of the Kiwis in the men. 43rd spot today, David Lee. Cameron Brown came home 46th, and Greg Frayne came home 49th. And confirming the result from the women's event today, it was congratulations to Emma Carney from Australia. But look at that, Sarah Harrow taking the bronze medal, and a magnificent performance by Jenny Rose, 7th overall, winning the World Cup for 1994. So a great result there for the New Zealand women, and a little bit disappointing, though, for the New Zealand men. Erin Baker with Hamish Carter and also Rick Wells both suffering punctures early on in the cycle leg.
Yeah, it's always really disappointing, but there's just nothing you can do about it. You know, you hope it's not going to happen in the main races, but as a pro, really, you just have to put up with it, because once you hit a punch, your race is over.
And finally today, the two champions, Spencer Smith and Emma Carney, they really went out and controlled the races from start to go, didn't they, really?
Yeah, they did. That's the greatest way to win a race. They won it from the front, and they just put everything, their heart and soul, into those races. And I think what the whole event showed was that, you know, the whole World Cup Series, those that race all year just can't expect to have one-off great races at the end of the season.
Okay, on behalf of Erin Baker and the rest of the Three Sport team, thanks for joining us this afternoon. We certainly hope you enjoyed the highlights of the World Triathlon Championships. And stay with us on 3 Sport, because the action continues right after the break. We take you to Johannesburg. It's cricket and more action from the first test. So stay with us on 3 Sport.
Bad performance could cost her the world crown. Vicky Wilkinson Baker and cameraman Graham Ritchie followed Jenny Rose in the build-up to her big race.
I'll strive to be #1 in the world, but only at my own pace. For me, my lifestyle is very important, and my friends are very important. I'm not going to cut those things away to be #1.
But Jenny Rose will train hard. She's performed well all year, and the World Triathlon Series she leads the women. To peak one more time in Wellington would round off a very successful season.
Well, we've got about 2.5 weeks left, so there'll be about another 1.5 weeks of pretty steady stuff.
For the Wellington course, a lot of the 40-kilometre bike ride is motorway.
I really don't think that I'll finish first. Maybe I'm not raising my expectations high enough, but I know people feel that I've got a very good chance. But I'm not going to put all the pressure on myself. I really love to get third. That would be fabulous for me.
At school, Jenny Rose swam. She then excelled at cycling. But the boredom of training for one sport saw her move into triathlon. When you stack the disciplines up, what's your weakest one?
Swimming. Swimming is my weakest, and that's because I compare myself to the other triathletes around, and I will not measure up to them in the swimming leg of the competition.
One possible reason, at the age of 3, she lost a finger in an accident.
I think that my hand has got a little bit to do with that, because obviously I've got a smaller pulling area with my hand, and in swimming, catch and pull has got everything to do with how fast you're going to go.
And I want you to make sure you keep behind the cone, simulate your start, as if you would in a race. I'll start you on a whistle.
In the pool they practice deep water starts, the sort of start they'll do in Wellington. They also do a lot of lengths.
Many people will try and imagine swimmers and triathletes training up and down in the pool, you know, doing 200 lengths, and think, my goodness, that must be so boring. They just go up and down and they've got nothing to think about. But you do organise your day when you're at the pool. You do many, many things. Surprising enough, but quite often athletes do think.
I think that's good.
English Park early in the morning with Coach John Hellemans. This time they're working on transitions.
The last couple of laps, especially of your 8 hard laps, you go, pretty hard, so your legs are tired when you get into the run.
It's very important before you come to the transition that you have a very clear head, you know exactly what you're going to do. For me, the transition onto the bike is the hardest. That's very difficult because you've got to put your feet in your cycling shoes and do them up. And I seem to have a lot of problems getting my feet into my cycling shoes and on the way without getting tangled up.
Sensational year. She's been in Europe most years at the World Cup Series, and she really has beaten just about everybody there is to beat. It's much tougher to stay at the top than getting to the top.
The real problem for her is the pressure, the expectations, being at home. It's very windy, so it's good. It's excellent conditions for us. It makes it difficult for the overseas girls. They're not used to those conditions. It's reasonably rough out there.
But Jenny Rose finishes well back in the swim, number 23 out of the water, 2 minutes behind the leaders. In the cycle race, she fights back. She goes into the run at number 5. She doesn't finish in the first 3. She crosses the line 7th.
Everyone who beat me did a really good race. They deserve to be out there in front. No excuses. I really tried hard. Maybe next time.
Far beyond what you see.
With that blast, Cowman called some of the hardiest triathletes in the world to the start of the first ever Sunsource Maui Triathlon. We'll bring you this Ironman distance race, plus highlights from the final Foot Action Association of Road Race Athletes race of the season, the 15-kilometer Tulsa Run from Oklahoma. Running and racing. Brought to you by Power Bar, high energy fuel for optimum performance. And by Foot Action. For every action, there's Foot Action. Haleakala, the world's largest dominant volcano, rises 10,000 feet above the beaches of the Hawaiian island of Maui. Below the sea, 1,500 of the world's remaining humpback whales winter in Maui's warm waters. On the beach, there's much to do, and today the activities are bike, run, and swim. Aloha and welcome to Wailea Beach in Maui. We're here for the first annual Sunsource Maui Triathlon. It's both an Iron Team Championship and an individual championship. It's a full Ironman, 112 miles on the bike, 2.5-mile rough water swim, and a full marathon. We'll be bringing you highlights of this race as well as the final stop on the Ara Tour. we better get started right now with this triathlon because it's going to be a long day. This race will include relay teams as well as individual entrants, and Lahaina, Maui resident Jeff Sanders is the pre-race favorite. But most of the pre-race talk is of the more legendary entrants like Gordon Howler, Cowman, and Sister Madonna Booter. Howler won the first ever long-distance triathlon in 1978.
Swimming is my weakest event. I'm a runner like you, and some of the years, like 79, we had the really rough water, and I nearly drowned. My paddler was blown out to sea, and I had to be guided in by a slower swimmer's paddler. So I was thinking this is going to be really embarrassing if I drown after winning the year before. So that's one thing that kept me going. I just don't want to drown this year either.
Well, the surf has cooperated on this still morning. There won't be many complaints about the swim here. With Cowman blowing low C on the conch, the race is underway. And what a day it will be for all but a few elite athletes, as it will be dark before the finish line is crossed by most. A dawn-to-dusk effort under the Hawaiian sun. Well, before the 26.2-mile marathon and the 112 miles on the bike, there's 2.5 miles of swimming to be taken care of. The water here is warm with unbelievable visibility, making this one of the most enjoyable swims anywhere. Last week, Sister Madonna Booter completed a full Ironman triathlon. Today, she's on a relay team.
I'm recovered from last week, but not recovered enough to do the entire thing. So instead, I'm going to just do the swim leg and then volunteer at the aid station and see how it is to get worn out from that aspect. I'm not good at standing still. I'd much rather be in motion, so this is going to be a new endurance test for me.
Well, this is a new course for everyone involved as we look at swim leader Doug Denny, who said he came to the race because he loves the island, he loves new experiences, and this was a new course. Another athlete who loves challenges is Cowman, a veteran of almost every endurance event in the United States. His headgear has been seen at the start of races for about as long as I can remember.
The Ironman disqualified me for wearing the horns in the swim after the first year. And then the bike also, they have approved bike helmets now, so they don't want me to wear the horns in the bike ride. So I comply with them. And then they let me wear the horns in the run still, like in the Ironman. And if I go to Japan or somewhere, they want me to wear the horns in all three or whatever I do. They don't care.
How much does that thing weigh?
Would you like to try them on?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Sure. These things got to be about 20 years old.
1976.
Yeah, it's not too heavy.
A little loose, huh?
Yeah, it's not my size.
You got to stuff a little grass and a little headband.
Right. All right.
I like to give a little moose horn for you.
I don't think I ever would have run 352 with these things on. These wouldn't cut it in Europe. Scandinavia. Cowman Shirk. In all the years I've been covering events, I've never met anyone who knew his real first name. We'll come back to Maui in a moment.
Need a score or late-breaking sports news? Call the ESPN Worldwide Sports Update line. Just dial your international code in 852-172-78400. You'll hear the latest information in English on major world sporting events. For the latest scores and the latest sports news, call all day, every day from anywhere in the world. The ESPN Worldwide Sports Update line. 852-172-78400. 24 hours a day from ESPN.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Houston from ESPN's Jimmy Houston Outdoors. Every week we show you the beauty of our environment, but let's remember to preserve and protect the only earth that we've got. You can make a world of difference.
Montreal shorthanded. Francis keeps it in. Gets it back from Ferraro. And a poke check by McPhee. Mike McPhee has a breakaway. He shoots. He scores. Mike McPhee.